Well, mark your calendars. As we heard earlier, the long-awaited tell-all memoir by Prince Harry will be released on January 10 next year, called Spare. The bombshell book is part of a 3-part deal, reportedly worth up to $62 million.
Wow, the title is a nod to William and Harry's roles as the heir and the spare. But what does the publication mean for the palace? Royal commentator Victoria Arbiter joins us live in the studio. Hey, lovely to see you.
Good morning. It's so nice to be with you in person in front of Buckingham Palace.
Yes, right. We flew over here for this interview.
Thank you.
We've been hearing about this book for some time. What do you make of the title? Like, it's a big deal.
It is. It's certainly a very provocative title, and it's already garnered so much reaction overnight. There are some people, of course, Harry supporters, saying it's a bold and courageous title. There are others saying that it speaks to Harry feeling slighted by his position in the royal family. As you mentioned, Larry, it's a nod to him being the spare, to William being the heir. But I also think what's quite interesting is over the last few months, his wife, Meghan, has had this podcast which is focused on the labels that hold women back. Episode 7 just dropped this week. And this is perhaps a label that Harry feels has held him back. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how he addresses this. The publisher has said it's going to be a raw and unflinching account about personal trauma on his journey to healing. So let's hope he's found his healing.
Yeah. What do you think his hopes are for the book? Do you think it is to boost his own image, or do we think he has an axe to grind, or maybe both?
I think it's a very good question, Kylie, and I do think there's a little bit of both. In terms of what he hopes to achieve, really what you have to wonder is he looking to boost his public appeal? Does he want to reach out to the public and genuinely have a connection that he feels his story helps others? It's a story that we can't relate to, obviously. Or is it a way for him to try and heal relations with his family? I don't see how you can achieve both. It's a very risky move, particularly so soon after the Queen's passing. I think the publisher had hoped to release this book before Christmas to capitalise on the Christmas sales. The fact that it's coming out in January perhaps is a mark of respect, and it also suggests that Harry has been able to make some of the amendments he's reported to have wanted to make, given the Queen passed away so recently.
I mean, you talk about agendas, but also it's a massive amount of money. $62 million. They've got to pay for their own Starbucks and stuff now too. So it's a lot of dough. Let's talk about the firm. Oh my gosh, it would be imploding, wouldn't they?
They're going to be bracing for impact, certainly. I think so. I suppose in some respects it's a good job it's coming after Christmas, because they can have a lovely family Christmas and not be dealing with the fallout. There's going to be so much in advance of this. There's likely to be a bidding war over serialisation in the British newspapers. It's being published in 16 countries simultaneously, but the royal family is not getting a copy in advance. So they're going to be reading it at the same time as the rest of us. Some of the newspapers have suggested that the lawyers are waiting for their copy in case they want to push back at anything, because the royals haven't been given a right to reply. So whatever is in that book, it's this kind of trendy phrase at the moment, is Harry's truth. The royal families may be slightly different, and perhaps they would say, as the Queen previously did, recollections may vary.
Just on the title, Charles would think that was a slap in the face, wouldn't he?
I think so, but I think also it's how different people remember different things, because Diana was always so keen to make sure that Harry was treated exactly the same as William. So, yes, he was called the spare, which I always thought was quite unkind. No one wants to be the spare to anything, but the fact that Harry is holding on to that label and that's the title of the book suggests that there's going to be a lot about his experiences.
And maybe it just tells us exactly how he's been feeling for so long, right?
Yeah.
It says a lot, doesn't it?
I think so.
Moving on, some changes are coming in. So who's going to be standing in for King Charles on those important duties?
Yeah, well, this topic came up this week because it was raised in the House of Lords, and Viscount Stansgate came out and said, councillors of state, so they are the 4 most senior members of the royal family in the line of succession that can stand in for the monarch should the monarch be indisposed, overseas, unwell, and also the wife or the husband of the reigning monarch. So
the spares.
Yes, the spares.
Anyone else has a problem with the spares?
Yes.
Continue, Victoria.
Well, no, so this is a very good point, because at the moment those 4 positions are held by Prince William. Yeah, obviously he's the heir, that's fine. But then Prince Harry, he lives overseas. Prince Andrew, he's been set aside from public life. And Princess Beatrice, who's a private member of the family, she's not a working royal. So what they're going to do, and I think this is quite a smart approach, rather than amend legislation to exclude anyone, they're just going to expand their options. So namely put in Princess Anne and Prince Edward that the king can lean on in the event he needs to.
More spares.
More space. So they don't have a problem with it. King Charles appeared on a British...
Well, then we're good to go then.
Yes. The King appeared on British TV in the last 24 hours for a special reason. This is showing off his softer side, although I think he was not king at the time this was filmed.
Absolutely right. No, this is a charming show, actually. It's called The Repair Shop, and it's where a group of artisans, whether they're woodworkers or stonemasons or blacksmiths, they repair family heirlooms and return them to their owners. So King Charles took along, he was still Prince of Wales, as you mentioned, he took along an 18th century clock that was no longer working, and he took along a piece of porcelain from Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee that he said somebody broke, but no one would admit to who broke it. You wouldn't want to. But also I thought it was quite charming insight. He said that the Queen Mother, his grandmother, absolutely loved clocks, and it was always her goal to try and get them to chime at the same time. And they would sit in the dining room and no one was allowed to speak on the hour to see if she'd managed to achieve the goal of having all the clocks chime at the same time. But Charles says he loves clocks too. He's inherited that passion and says they're the heartbeat of the home.
Wow, those cold winter nights in the palace must just fly by. Everyone waiting for the hour. Across the pond, Queen Margaret has announced that major shake-up in the Danish royal family, of course. Prince Frederick has spoken out. No, Crown Prince Frederick, yes, has finally spoken out.
Yes, and I think she'll be quite glad to have the support. There's been such a brouhaha over her stripping some of her grandchildren of their titles. Their father was not terribly happy about that, and he did kind of come out yelling and screaming about it. But Crown Prince Frederick has said he supports his mother's decision. He is the heir to the throne. He said he favours a leaner monarchy in the future. He said it's a family matter, so perhaps in a bid to quell some of the public interest. But I think his mother will have been very glad to have the public show of support.
He had to say that, though, and his kids have kept their titles. So
perhaps a little easier.
Not like the spare.
Not like the spare. Thank you so much, Victoria.
you.
So
So good
lovely
to see
to see you.
Thank you.